so many things that I wish I did differently if I was starting photography today, and so today I want to share with you some of those things and hopefully save you some time in your journey as a photographer and even a little bit of money. This list of things we're going to go over covers everything from camera selection to building an audience, so I'm positive that will be of some value to you. But before we get into the list, I want to remind you that I have a bunch of free resources that you can download and enjoy to help you and your photography journey. I've got a free preset below you can use on your photos for Lightroom Mobile. And I also run a weekly newsletter called Captured, where every Saturday morning I send you tips and inspo for all things photography related. So if we get started, number one, invest in trips before investing in new gear. I think one of the biggest traps that I fell into as a beginner photographer was thinking that I had to invest all of my money into brand new equipment right away. When I started photography in 2018, I got a mid-tier prosumer camera, the Sony a6300. I got a bunch of lenses, I got a gimbal, I even got a drone. I put all my money into equipment that I thought I needed in order to be successful within photography. But one massive problem was that my work hadn't improved. If anything, I just had a lot of gear to carry around with me. Fortunately though, that year I had already committed to going on a trip with some friends, and so I was forced to really condense my equipment and what I was going to take with me. This trip made me realize that going on an adventure and visiting a new place was a far better investment than a brand new lens every 6 months. Obviously, I needed a camera and I still needed a lens, but I didn't need a gimbal, I didn't need a drone, I didn't need all of these extra things that I thought I did. So my advice to my old self would be to always look for new adventures and experiences to grow my photography rather than just new pieces of equipment. So number two is to consciously consume. This is really difficult to do right now, especially with so many apps we have. But something I struggled with a lot early on was comparing my work to other photographers. When I created my photography Instagram you see today, I went out and followed a bunch of incredible photographers who I thought I just had to follow because I was now a photographer. They had massive followings and incredible work, and at the beginning it was really cool to see what they were doing, get some ideas and inspiration. But not long after, it started to become a bit of a burden. Constantly seeing these incredible photos and incredible adventures they were having started to make me feel a little bit shitty about my work and also my photography. I was just starting out. Like, it was obvious I wasn't going to be traveling to the most beautiful parts of the world with my photography and working with the most incredible clients. It's just unrealistic, and having Instagram show it to me every day was not good for my development or my mental health. So if I could do it again, I would make sure to consciously consume from creators who are not only sharing amazing work and sharing their beautiful photos, but maybe some photographers who are sharing tips and who are open to having conversations with me. But overall, I would curate my feed to make sure that my growth in photography was facilitated, and I just try and remind myself that I'm not going to be at the level that some people were after shooting 10 years when I had only been shooting for 6 months. So the next thing I would do differently if I was to start my photography journey in 2024 is actually a little controversial, and it really depends on where you want to go within photography. But if you do want to do this as a bit of a career and see where you can go, I would definitely recommend invest in growing an audience. For the longest time, I always had this theory that my work was going to be good enough to attract an audience on its own. I didn't want to take the time to grow on social media. I wasn't a fan of it, and in hindsight, that was really egotistical and pretty stupid. See, I'm not the best photographer in the world, so why would anyone go out of their way to leave a platform like Instagram and to find me and go and enjoy my work through my website? This wasn't going to happen, and it took me a long time to realize this after a few years of not really growing or seeing any traffic on my website. It wasn't until I started to be more active on social media by sharing YouTube videos, creating Instagram posts, just being a participant in the photography community, that I started to see my audience grow. And look, an audience isn't essential for your journey in photography, but if you'd like to make a career out of it, growing a community is really powerful. It not only gives you an audience to share your work with and sell products to, but it also just gives you an opportunity to connect with like-minded people. I can't tell you the amount of relationships I've created through Instagram to go on trips and take incredible photos, thanks to the fact that I actually have started posting on social media. And I've been really fortunate to sell things like my course, Capture to Keep, and my presets to this community to help them in their photography journey as well. So the next thing I would do differently if I was starting photography in 2024 would be to document my life as an artist. I've only recently started to prioritize documenting my life, my personal life, and even just capturing clips and videos of being out on set. Considering I work as a photographer, the last thing I found myself doing was capturing photos and videos of just my personal life in a really creative way. So that's the goal of this YouTube channel moving forward. It's the goal of TikTok, is to just document more. I wish I had footage of me starting out and being on my first shoots. I wish I had footage of going on these awesome trips where I created photos that you guys have seen here on YouTube. I was too nervous, I was too embarrassed to get a camera out for BTS, and in hindsight that was really stupid. No one actually gives a shit. So number 5 is to create a local community. We spoke about the importance of growing your online audience and digital community, but I would have to say to start out, the most important thing is growing your local network. Meeting people in your city, creating organic relationships, in my opinion, is a really powerful way to growing your business and also just gaining some really valuable real world experience. So the lesson is your community doesn't have to be digital. It doesn't have to be a massive audience. If you've got a really powerful local network, your growth in photography is exponential. You'll thank yourself in a few months when you've got an awesome network of creatives who can look out for you and you can also get a coffee with. So the next thing would be to ask questions to people you admire. I understand it can be quite daunting when you find someone online and they have this really big profile with incredible work and you just want to ask them questions. But one of the coolest realizations I had about 3 years ago was that these people are just like regular people. For so long, I would put them on pedestals. I would think that they were better than me, and sure, they might have had more experience than me, but they were just people at the end of the day who I can ask questions to, no problems. This goes for personal life, dating, whatever the heck you want to talk about. Photography is no different. And in my experience, connecting with them at the beginning was always a challenge because I didn't really have much to offer them, but finding a way to create a little bit of value for someone is really incredible at creating a relationship. And so if there is someone that you do want to contact, don't put them too high up on a pedestal. Figure out a way to connect with them, offer them some value, and the chances are pretty high that you guys will strike up a relationship. And so the next thing I would do if I'm starting photography in 2024 was to do my creative work in more beautiful locations. This is hard to explain, but I'm going to try to anyway. But personally, I find that when I am in a beautiful location, I get really creative. I have more ideas, I enjoy the process a lot more, and it's just nice to be there. It's probably because as photographers, our art form is one of the rare ones where we actually have to be in a beautiful place to create beautiful art. But I think beautiful places have been curated. They've had a bit of design, they've had stylists come in, and the space has been created to be enjoyed. And that's why nowadays, if I ever have to do some creative editing or come up with some ideas for YouTube or TikTok or whatever, I try to take myself to a beautiful location to do these things. This has meant that I no longer associate photo editing with work. I get to enjoy photo editing in a beautiful place. Taking my notebook and grabbing a $5 coffee in a beautiful location is now seen as an investment because I get to be in a beautiful space for as long as I can. It's something I wish I did sooner and something I wish I didn't make myself feel as bad for doing. But as photographers and as creatives and as artists, it's really important to put yourself in these spaces to just improve your creativity. And the last thing I would do if I was starting photography in 2024 would be to stop being in such a rush. This is something I still struggle with and I'm trying my best to manage it, but putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on yourself to be a great photographer right away is only going to hinder your growth. Trust me, I only started to see improvements in my photography when I started viewing it as more of a lifetime pursuit, recognizing that I'm only going to get better with time and that I should spend all my efforts getting better at the actual art of photography rather than worrying about being great right away. Plus, I feel as creatives, we do our best work when we are relaxed and not stressed, so it's overall just a net positive. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, just leave a comment, or you'd like to get in touch, just send me an email or a DM on Instagram. Finally, now that you know all the things that I would do differently if I was starting photography today, go check out this video next and you can start to learn a little bit more about improving your photography today.